Magandang umaga, Filipinas. Good morning. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, reporting from our Eagle News studio in the Western Canadian province of Alberta. My city is Edmonton, and we're here to bring you news and commentary from across the country. Well, it's Tuesday morning. Let's check the weather. Be sure to dig out your umbrella today. AccuWeather forecasting increasing clouds, a heavy thunderstorm forecast for this afternoon. Now, this one's supposed to be a real soaker. So again, make sure you got a raincoat and umbrella. High today of 34. It's going to have a real feel of about 41 degrees. Currently 27, feels like 33, and the air quality rated as excellent. Well, the coffee's on. Grab a second cup. Managed to find some Panasol this morning to go with it. Masarap. Sit back, relax, and I'll tell you what's happening in Canada. First, we'll take a look at the weather across the country. Our street scene today coming from Vancouver. And a big thanks to Jen De Leon for this shot. It's the Vancouver Public Library. That would be one of my favorite spots. I love libraries. We start on the west coast. Victoria, sunny and 24. Vancouver, also sunny, 21 degrees there. We cross the mountains to Alberta, where Edmonton is sunny and 21. Calgary has a few clouds and 19. In Saskatchewan, Regina, mostly cloudy and 20. Clouds and 19 in Saskatoon. Winnipeg, mostly cloudy and 23. Now we start getting into the little hotter part of the country. Toronto, it's hot, cloudy, 27. Ottawa, much the same, cloudy and 28. Montreal, cloudy and 28. The Atlantic provinces, hot for this time of year for that particular region. Fredericton is cloudy and a scorching 32 degrees. Halifax, partly sunny and 25. We go up to St. John's, Newfoundland, where it's cloudy and 25 degrees. And let's look at our weather. Here are some of the stories we're following today. 3 people die while on a sightseeing tour of glaciers in Western Canada. A lot of protests about face masks over the weekend. Houses of worship set to reopen in BC, and we'll have an update on beach volleyball. A weekend sightseeing tour of the glaciers in the Columbia ice fields in the Canadian Rockies turned tragic on the weekend when a bus overturned, killing 3 people. Investigators remain on the scene today of that Saturday accident, trying to figure out what went wrong. A mechanical inspection will be done when the vehicle can be moved, but this is going to take several days because of the challenges presented by the embankment that bus fell into. Police have not identified the victims, but they say they included a 24-year-old woman from Saskatchewan, a 28-year-old woman from Edmonton, and a 58-year-old man from India. The accident occurred on one of the most popular tourist areas in Western Canada, along the scenic Icefields Parkway. That runs through Jasper and Banff National Parks. Some of you may have been there. Some of you may have had relatives that have been there and sent you pictures. The all-terrain bus rolled off the road near the ice field in Jasper National Park, and it landed upside down on a rocky slope. Police say 3 people were pronounced dead at the scene. 24 others suffered injuries ranging from minor to critical. And the investigation into the cause of that accident still underway. Across Canada on the weekend, protesters staging rallies opposing public health orders that require people to wear face masks. They're calling for freedom of choice, despite the fact that the number of COVID-19 cases in the country are on the rise. Rallies were held in Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Ottawa, several other cities across the country. The demonstrators argue that wearing masks in public should be voluntary and not ordered by the government. And they're also questioning just how effective are these masks in preventing the spread of the virus. In Calgary, they waved signs that read, "End the tyranny. I will not wear your fear." You know, there are those who are convinced that making masks mandatory it's all part of a worldwide conspiracy. Pass the tinfoil hat, please. The protests came just one day after the province of Quebec mandated masks be worn in public places. Today, the city of Calgary is discussing an ordinance to whether to make masks mandatory on public transit. You know, and while the protests and grumbling continue, public health officials are worried about the increase in cases. Data across the country shows an increase in COVID-19 among younger demographics, younger people, especially those in the 20 to 29-year-old age group. They're talking about something we hadn't heard of until recently. This is kind of a new phenomena. Pandemic fatigue. Pandemic fatigue. That's when people become less diligent about following public health practices. They become complacent. They start to tune out the advice from experts. And this complacency in turn leads to an increase in cases. We've seen it especially noticeable in the United States. But in my own province here, we had over 350 new cases in the last 72 hours in Alberta. And we're not a big population area. The whole province is about 4 million. But, you know, until there's a vaccine and or treatment, COVID-19 is going to be a part of our lives. Check out the history books with pandemics. Spanish flu pandemic hung around for about 3 years. There were 4 waves of that. Hopefully it won't be, that long this time, given the advances in medical science. But it isn't going to just disappear, as one world leader has suggested. Let's go to Vancouver now. Standing by is Eagle News correspondent Arnie Aquino. She tells us BC is preparing to advance its reopening. But Arnie, I understand there are also concerns in your province about pandemic fatigue.
That's right, Tom. So BC has reached phase 3 of its reopening plan, and phase 4 is just around the corner. As BC prepares for phase 4, many people seem to forget the dangers of COVID-19. More and more people are boarding on flights to and from BC, and 2 of them were just recently found to have had COVID-19 exposure. As airlines rally to remove physical distancing restrictions, BC's provincial health officer has called for improved health protocols from the airlines. Airlines aren't the only ones who've had enough of COVID-19. We've heard of the protests against wearing masks around the world and Canada, and it seems the craze has hit Vancouver. Just yesterday, protesters gathered around Jack Pool Plaza in Vancouver to protest the mandatory mask policies. BC hasn't yet implemented a mandatory mask policy in public spaces, and so far, only some private places have these restrictions. But attendees are saying they are protesting this policy before the province emulates other jurisdictions and makes wearing a mask mandatory. From Vancouver, British Columbia, Arnie Aquino, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Arnie, before you go, just your observations. Do you notice fewer and fewer people wearing masks, or are they a little more diligent than say they are here in Edmonton?
I would say there's definitely more people out and about today and most days, but I see a lot of people wearing masks actually. And the funny thing is, when I was reading an article about people in Vancouver protesting wearing masks, there's people protesting wearing masks, but they're also wearing masks. So I think, people are just kind of tired, as you said, pandemic fatigue, and they just want everything over and done with. But at the same time, there's some people that are still, taking the precautions that are needed in this time.
Is there much of a political appetite there for mandatory masks, whether it be at the municipal level in the Vancouver area or province-wide?
Political, I wouldn't say so.
Is there a push? Do you think the government has an appetite to bring in that requirement?
Well, to be honest, I think personally, yes, just because BC has had one of the lower numbers of cases of COVID-19, and they want to keep it that way. But at the same time, people in BC, except for this protests against wearing masks, people in BC are actually very diligent in themselves wearing masks in public places. So as I said, there's more people out and about, but at the same time, you see a lot more people too wearing masks. There's the people here and there that obviously don't want to wear it, but that's a given.
Well, hopefully you can keep those case numbers low, unlike here where, like I say, they seem to be on the increase. We're going to stay in British Columbia now, and we're joined by Eagle News correspondent Jeanette Doiseau. Jeanette tells us there's good news for faith faith-based organizations in the province. Good morning, Jeanette.
Hi, Tom. Good morning. Yes, so as part of the phase 2 and 3 of the BC Restart Plan, we have seen so many establishments have opened up in accordance to that plan. So parks, camping grounds, restaurants, cafes, retail, and sports and recreation. Pretty much everything to somewhat make us feel getting back to the old normal. So what is also included is the reopening of the faith-based organizations, churches, synagogues, and other faith-based activities and services. With so many people affected mentally with isolation, fear, the uncertainty, anxieties due to COVID-19, many people of different faiths are longing to return and attend religious services in their places of worship. That desire for social interaction, community connection is very important for mental wellness for a lot of people. With all the safety protocols and guidelines required of other establishments, faith-based organizations are not exempted in developing a COVID-19 safety plan. The WorkSafe BC provided protocols, very specific protocols for faith-based organizations recently posted in the WorkSafe BC website. Also posted in there for reference is the order of the Provincial Health Officer signed on May 22, 2020, stating mass gathering is allowed not exceeding 50 people for the purpose of the event. Also, we have shared this information before that there are different protocols establishments, organizations can use, from first level protection, which is the highest level and goes to second, third, and fourth levels. So for first level protection, it's the elimination, like it's a limit of number of people in attendance and ensure at least 2 meters, 6 feet from each other. The second level is if you can maintain the physical distancing. Some establishments put barriers, but for churches, I don't think that's possible. So the third level protection is administrative controls, like establishing rules and guidelines, such as cleaning protocols, telling attendees or workers not to share their tools or implementing any other things. So in churches, that would mean pamphlets, magazines, hymnal books. If they're hymnal books, they can't share that. And then the fourth level protection is using PPE. So if the first 3 levels of protection aren't enough to control the risk, consider the use of masks. So going back to what Arnie touched on about the protests about wearing masks, this is one of the effective ways of, limiting the risk. So with that, following one or a combination of all the levels of protocols, it increases the safety of the congregants and limit the risk of transmission. And as what we know of COVID-19, it has symptoms similar to other respiratory illnesses like that flu and common cold, and yet have many characteristics still unknown to the medical world. So suffice to say, the new normal way of living is the only way to be able to live with this virus. In Victoria, British Columbia, Jeanette Wasso, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thanks for the report, Jeanette. Just quickly, do you know of many churches that are resuming worship services?
I don't know firsthand because I think it's not very particular that the health official of BC have openly said this is happening now. You are allowed to go. They are not. I've been following all the press conferences and stuff like that. They have not specifically said, okay, churches are now allowed to open. But when they are asked about the limit of people, they said mass gathering 50 indoors and 100 outside, I think is what they said.
Okay, thank you for that update. And if you're just joining us, it's 16 minutes past 7 o'clock. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada.
Naipakita na nila ang kanilang galing. Nasa inyong mga kamay ang kanilang kapalaran. 100% ng desisyon kung sino ang tatanghaling tagisan ng galing grand winner ay manggagaling sa boto ninyo. Kaya iboto na ang pinakamagaling na contestant para sa iyo. Kung ikaw ay Team Angel Nicole Francisco, text TNG Space Angel and send to 0922-1101-400. Sa palagay mo, Cosmic Angels ang pinakamagaling. Text TNG Space Cosmic and send to 0922-110-1400. Kung Power Duo ang nagpahanga sa iyo, text TNG Space Power and send to 0922-110-1400. Support na kung napahanga ka ni Jonah Chris Bandilio. Text TNG Space Jonah Chris and send to 0922-110-1400. Number 1 at the best ba para sa'yo si Ed Rain o Clarino? Text TNG Space Ed Rain and send to 0922-110-1400. Sa text votes, isang boto kada isang mobile number. Make sure na tama ang keyword para valid ang boto mo. Pwede rin kayong bumoto via online. Pumunta lang sa Tagisan ng Galing channel sa YouTube. I-click ang subscribe. Hanapin ang individual performance ng paborito ninyong top 5 finalists. Panoorin, i-like at mag-comment. At i-share. Ang total percentage ng boto para sa inyong paboritong contestant will be computed as follows. 25% ay manggagaling sa inyong text votes. 25% ay mula sa bilang ng mga views. 25% para sa total numbers of likes. At 25% ang magmumula sa total number of shares ng mga videos ng kanilang mga individual performances. Kaya naman, lahat ng boto, views, like at share ninyo ay mahalaga. So, vote now! Sabay-sabay nating abangan kung sino ang tatanghaling grand winner sa Tagisan ng Galing. Tagisan ng Galing is presented by SMC Infrastructure, building a better world. Sandig sugar-free white coffee, puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na Sandig sugar-free white coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free. VetaPro NutriChoice, the only premium dog food with active boost for optimum energy and prebiotics that help strengthen immunity. Just like Catherine Bernardo, gawing listo ganado ang fur babies niyo. Listo ganado sa NutriChoice. Magnolia Chicken Templados, delicious, ready to cook and freshly marinated daily. Pure Foods Lunch and Meat, pure sarap for every family. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Walang duda, kids can tell na #1 ang Pure Foods Tender Juicy. Ang tender, ang juicy, ang sarap. Co-presented by Cooper, expert in air conditioning and electromechanical. Also engaged in structural, electrical, fire protection, plumbing, and sanitary services. Cooper, your ultimate MEPS and air conditioning solutions. Unlad Incorporated International, fight against global poverty. New San Jose Builders Incorporated. Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Puerto Rico Resort and Convention Center, Cabiao, Nueva Ecija. I love Puerto Rico. In participation with Philippine National Bank, masasandalan ng pamilyang Pilipino saan man sa mundo. PNB, you first. Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint, Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated, Compizel Enterprises, Saisho International Trading Corporation, DN Steel, EMAC UPB Roof Corporation. East West Bank, your dream, our focus.
Hey, Gretchen Ho here, and I'm a white coffee lover. Creamy kasi, and very yummy. Pero mas masarap kung hindi nakaka-guilty. Check my new discovery, Sandmade Sugar-Free White Coffee. Puno ng white coffee taste without the sugar, kaya lower calories. Try mo na! Sandmade Sugar-Free White Coffee. Sarap ng white coffee, now sugar-free.
The Bulacan Bulk Water Project is a treatment facility that will provide bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan to meet the increasing water demand of its residents. Through concessionaire, SMC Infrastructure also initiated the significant improvements of the Manila North Harbor Port, the country's busiest port.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Ikaw lang ang star ng buhay ko. Para sa akin, perfect ka. Ibang klase ang sarap ng corned beef mo. Ang cheesy ng corned beef mo. Pag Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef, sarap ng corned beef, inangat pa ng real cheese cubes. Kaya perfect ang sarap. Star Chunky Cheese Corned Beef.
Malaking parte ng pamumuhay namin ang agrikultura. Sa mother side ko, ang kanilang kalakal ay animal husbandry. Sila po ay nag-aalaga ng mga baka. Magmula po sa Pangasinan, napunta po ng Nueva Ecija. Ang father side ko naman po, mula po sa Spain, pagdating nila dito sa Pilipinas, sila po yung tinatawag na uring may lupa. Talagang nabuhay po kami, ibinuhay po sa amin ang agrikultura. Mga mahal kong kababayan, ito po si Robin Padilla, inaanyayahan ko po kayong manood ng Unlad, Kaagapay sa Hanap Buhay. Dito po sa Net 25.
May kaagapay sa hanap buhay.
This is Eagle News Mornings from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Likeness, 23 and a half minutes past 7 o'clock. It's 27 degrees right now in Metro Manila. Well, beach volleyball is back. The American Premier Pro Beach Volleyball Organization, that's the AVP, crowned its first set of champions Sunday in Long Beach, California. And we say good morning to our beach volleyball fanatic, Tenny Sumagi. Good morning, Tenny.
Good morning, Tom. And yes, beach volleyball is back because it's summertime and the living is easy.
That musical interlude, I love it. That was what, Porgy and Bess?
Yes, Porgy and Bess, George Gershwin, classic song. Well, let's go back to beach volleyball, where the first of 3 AVP Champions Cup series, the Monster Hydro Cup, completed with the top-ranked men's and women's teams claiming victory. The dynamic duo of Phil Dalhouser and Nick Lucena defeated second-ranked team Jake Gibb and Taylor Crabb in 3 hard-fought sets. Gibb and Crabb played a commanding match, but service errors and blocks made the difference, which handed the top teams Dalhouser and Lucena the victory. Over in the women's side, April Ross and Alex Kleiman battled fourth-seeded Brandy Wilkerson and Sarah Hughes in a tough 2-set victory. Ross had 13 kills and 2 errors with 10 digs and 5 aces. The 3-part Cup Series will replace the 2020 AVP Pro season due to the impact of COVID-19. Next up is the Wilson Cup played this weekend. In New York, Tenny Sumagi, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Tenny, there's a whole bunch of questions this thing raises in my mind. You know, when I think of pro sports, I think of the sponsorships, I think of the big leagues and so on. Is there any money in this?
Yes, there is money in the AVP Tour. The winners actually, if they win the tournament, the three series, each team gets $200,000 in prize money and, of course, a trophy.
Well, that's not bad at all. Do they have television contracts and so on for all of this?
Yes, the AVP has been televised on NBC. I've been watching beach volleyball way since the 90s. I've been a fan of volleyball. I played it in middle school and high school, but I played indoor volleyball, which is a total different ball game to the beach, because the beach you're playing on sand, the difficulty of having to bump set spike and the sun, which makes the sport very difficult to play, which I mean these players, you have to give kudos to them for staying fit and being talented on the beach.
What is it you love about you? You sound like a bit of a fanatic. Yeah. The word fan comes derivative of the term fanatic. You're a bit of a volleyball fanatic, a beach volleyball fanatic. What do you love about the sport?
Well, besides the hot bodies. Just kidding there. Well, like I said, in comparison to indoor volleyball where you have six people playing bump set spike on the floor, falling with down the floor, pancake, whatever. You have beach volleyball where the footwork is so different. You really have to, number one, you really have to know how to move on sand. Can you imagine? You've been to the beach, Tom. Can you actually run in like 2 inches of sand? I mean, in beach volleyball, it's more. So can you imagine running in that in the scorching heat? And I just love, just seeing them bump, set, spike, whether it goes out, whether it goes in, especially when they rally. Man, it's just you should watch a game or two, Tom, on television next weekend on NBC if you have it in Canada.
Yeah, we have NBC up here. I used to work for their radio network at one time, many years ago. Sounds like a very, very competitive sport, though. So do they sort of have the same kind of league system? You start out in the minors and end up in the bigs?
Kind of. I mean, a lot of the training does start, like, say, soccer, where they have like a minor, or baseball, where they have a minor league. And a lot of the players, they really they start competing at 18. Phil Dahlhauser actually started competing when he was, I believe when he was 20. He started playing volleyball at 18. So he's kind of a late bloomer, and he grew to be one of the most competitive, most dominant beach volleyball players the last 2 decades. He and his former partner, Todd Rogers, dominated both the AVP and the international tour, and they even won a gold medal in the Beijing Olympics. When Todd Rogers retired, he paired up with Lucena. They're still a good team. There's a little bit competition within the Brazilian teams, but they're still a dominant force, especially in the AVP, as seen during the weekend.
So a late starter. Hey, maybe there's hope for me yet. Thanks for joining us this morning, Penny. That's our program for today. And on behalf of our Canadian news team, I wish you all good health. Take care of others and take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic and other current affairs. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Stay tuned for Anong Say Yo.